I'd like to call the Onslow County Board of Commissioners meeting for Wednesday, January 4th, 2023 to order. At this time, we ask our county manager, Ms. Sharon Griffin, to lead us in our invocation.
Thank you so much and good morning, Chairman Foster and Commissioners. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come before you and conduct the business of Onslow County. Lord, we thank you for the year that has passed and the many blessings you have given us. As we make resolutions for the year ahead, let us go forward with great hope that all things can be possible. May all we do this day bring you honor and glory. Amen. Now, with deep respect and reverence for the faiths, beliefs, and traditions of those gathered here today, join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
And please stand as Ms. Sherry Slater, Assistant County Manager, leads us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chairman Foster, as you know, upon resignation of one of our former commissioners from this board, North Carolina general statute required that the board fill the vacancy with the person recommended by the county executive committee of the political party of which the commissioner being replaced was a member. The Republican Party's executive committee did recommend in December that Mark Price fill that vacancy, and on December 21st, 2022, this board held a special meeting to appoint Mark Price to fill the vacancy. As we begin this new year, it is respectfully requested that the Board of Commissioners formally ratify this appointment now at today's regular meeting prior to conducting business, and that we all congratulate Commissioner Mark Price.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Commissioner Price. Thank you, Ms. Griffin.
Now you're official.
What'd you say?
City's official now.
Yeah, that's right. Just like to recognize our elected officials here and others this morning. Sheriff Chris Thomas is here with us this morning, as well as his colonel there, Sean George, and from Onslow County Schools, Dr. Brendan Gartner, who I think has officially started his new position with Onslow County Schools as the Chief of Operations. So we're glad to have all of you here this morning. We ask that all in attendance please set your cell phones to silent or vibrate mode. The board offers the public one opportunity to speak during the meeting, and comments should be limited to no more than 5 minutes and may be on any issue upon which the Board of Commissioners has control. In accordance with the board's adopted rules of procedure, commissioners shall reserve responses, if any, for the commissioner comment period on the agenda. Now with a motion to adopt our agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now to approve the items on the consent agenda. Does any commissioner have any questions or concerns with any items there, or any they would like to have removed from the consent agenda and considered separately at the end of the meeting?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I think now we're to item 3, public comment. Ms. Griffin?
Yes, Chairman Foster and Commissioners, no one has signed up today for public comment.
Fantastic. Thank you. Moving to item number 4 is presentations. It's a new portion of our meetings for the first meeting of the month, where we're having county departments come in and spotlight what they do. And I will let Ms. Griffin take this over, and this is an opportunity for them to share with us. We're not going to present any questions to them because this is an opportunity for the citizens of Onslow County to hear what services are being provided, an opportunity for our department heads to share what are the wonderful things that they are doing for the citizens of Onslow County. Ms. Griffin?
Thank you so much, Chairman Foster, and we do really appreciate all of our department heads. They have a difficult job, they work diligently, and we're pleased to begin to present them 2 at a time or maybe 3 at a time each meeting so that everyone can understand better what they do and what they provide for Onslow County. And our first presentation today is by Glenn Hasted. He is our ITS director. Glenn?
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. This is my favorite topic, honestly, is talking about what the group is doing and the wonderful things and the wonderful people that we have here at the county doing the work. Our GIS department is an award-winning GIS department. We're actually the last GIS department to have won the most innovative GIS department in the state. They have not given the award since 2019 because of COVID and other reasons. So we were able to maintain that title for 3 years. So I'm excited about that by default. But that work, that group has done work for the senator recently, did some wonderful work for them, did some wonderful work for North Topsail Beach, and for all of the departments that we do here. It's really the original business intelligence tool, GIS is, and it allows departments and individuals to look at data in a different way. Instead of looking at data in a spreadsheet, it allows them to look at it spatially in a format being a map. And that just seems to make sense to everyone. Like, for instance, when we were in the opioid, when we were really in the opioid epidemic, they were able to look at where those incidents were so that we knew where we needed to be effective. You know, because you can't be effective everywhere, but if you know where you need to be effective, then you know exactly where to go. Our GIS department also does all the tax records. So they maintain all the property records that tax uses to be able to generate the income that we use so sparingly. Our IT department and GIS department together has actually been nationally recognized for the last 6 straight years. So for the last 6 straight years, they have been in the top 10 in the nation for counties of our size. They have 5 population groups so that we're not competing with LA and New York. So they have 5 population groups. North Carolina has been incredibly well represented in those lists and in the city list as well. We have an incredible community of IT professionals in this state, a very active community of IT professionals, of which I'm coming off as the president of. I'm now the current past president of that group. Within that group, we also have a cybersecurity team. That cybersecurity team gets deployed every time somebody gets hit with ransomware or a cyber event. One of our employees, one of our staff, Ted Norris, who's my right hand, my deputy, he's one of the team leads for that team, right? So he gets deployed when somebody gets hit. Well, every time somebody gets hit, he comes back and he goes, no, we're not doing this, we're not doing this, we're not doing this. And we've been able to maintain an incredibly high level of cybersecurity. His knowledge of the cybersecurity landscape is right on the cutting edge, is right on the front lines. And that's been able to keep our citizens and our data safe. So I'm really proud of everyone in that room. We have the best IT team in the state, and I can say that because I know the other IT teams in the state. Man for man, I'd put them up against anyone. They're not just really smart, and they're not just really good at what they do, they're also really good people. So I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to talk about this, because I could do it all day. But thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Glenn. We appreciate all you do and your whole team. Next we have, excuse me, the amazing Lisa Whitman-Grice, who is our museum director, but so much more. She's also done Onslow County Today for many years. She does lots of extra projects for us. And anytime you hear us say that we're going to activate the Citizens Phone Bank, that's Lisa Whitman-Grice. But today she's going to talk to you about the museum.
My first baby. And I do have prepared notes only because you all know me. In 5 minutes, we'll do our best, I promise. Good morning, Chairman and Vice Chairman and Commissioners. We do appreciate the opportunity, and I say we because my team, like Glenn's team, is phenomenal, so we are so grateful. I'd like to speak with you today and share with you about our museum system. We actually have 3 sites. We have our main museum in Richlands. We have the Environmental Education Center in Sneads Ferry. and the wonderful and precious historic Pelletier House in downtown Jacksonville. The mission of the museum is to collect, document, preserve, celebrate, and share the story of this great place that we all get to call home. Our museum was established in 1976, which we all know was the height of bicentennial fervor and celebrating our story here in the United States, and specifically here in Onslow County. We became a county agency in 1980, and in 1993, the decision was made to allocate the funds for our current main building. That building was completed in 1994, and 15,000 square feet was designated for our museum operations. Of that 15,000 square feet, 5,000, or a full third, is dedicated for the storage and care of our collection of thousands of artifacts and specimen documents, photographs that date from about 1860 forward. So we have this incredible collection that we store in that climate-controlled space. And really, that collection is at the heart of who we are. It defines the museum, and it's that tangible connection to place and to people. It lets people see and sometimes touch history. We don't always let you touch. But it's that collection is who we are. And it's everything from the tiniest of fossils to those items that document the dramatic change that occurred here in post-World War II Onslow County. Most recently, we received a gorgeous, incredible collection from the Marine family. And I say that real emphatically because that was a family name here prior to 1941. It's just one of those cool historical coincidences. But the Marine family had established the township of Marines, and later their land would be acquired and would become part of the base. The other thing that we recently acquired, which is not just really cool for what it is, but its sheer size. And we were able to acquire all of the neon marquee letters from the Ark. They're about 3.5 feet by about 3.5 feet, but who doesn't have a memory of eating at the Ark? So we have these wonderful neon signs, and they're part of the cultural landscape that we were able to save. So we are honored to be able to collect and protect those artifacts. But we just don't put them in a room somewhere, which people are always concerned, oh, do you just put them in storage? They're how we create our exhibits, from the water and the wood to all of our temporary exhibits that we install. So they're a living collection that help tell that story. And while collections is what we do, our why is education. Our why is devoted to creating awareness and appreciation. And I'm going to say love for this place. And so from preschoolers forward, for all of our visitors, we want them to love this place. And so that is at the core of our why. We've also been able to expand our where. We certainly have our main museum, but we also have our Environmental Education Center, where we have a 40-foot canoe in Richlands. We have a 12-foot alligator in Sneed's Ferry. He's sort of the star there. And then, of course, the historic Pelletier House, which is this little jewel that has witnessed history for 150 years. And we're doing a little bit more. You'll be seeing us do a little bit more. We'll have a special event later this spring there. And then, of course, I have to talk about the Who. And our Who is our phenomenal team. We have Emily Baker, who is our collections manager. Emily is in with the artifacts every day. Those are her babies. We have Mary Downing, who is our education coordinator. Mary does all of our outreach programming. She sees thousands of children a year. We have Angie Bynum, who is our front desk attendant. Angie is the face of the museum. She is that welcoming person. We have our boards, our foundation, our advisory board, and we have SAT students that I cherish because those students come in, they give us 100 hours over the course of about 3 years, and I hate to see them go, but I'm so proud. And finally, I promise, we are excited, overjoyed, because the Smithsonian is coming to the Onslow County Museum this spring. We were one of 6 museums in the state selected to host this traveling exhibit. It will be there from May 1 until June 11. We'll have a big reception, grand opening reception, that May 6th. And then we're going to have it for 6 weeks where the public can come in and experience Crossroads, Change in Rural America. So that's a little about what we have going on, but we thank you for the opportunity to share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa, thank you so much, and I'll turn it back over to you, Chairman Foster.
We appreciate Glenn and Lisa coming in this morning and sharing, and I feel sure we'll have some comments at the end related to what you have shared. And at this time, it's time to move to item 5, public hearing, and we'll turn that over to Ms. Griffin.
Yes, sir, Chairman Foster, and we do have one public hearing today, and I'm going to call upon Assistant County Manager Ben Warren, who is our Interim Planning and Development Director as well, to provide the staff update for PREZ 2022-00019.
Let's make sure I'm going the right way here. There we go. All right. Good morning, Chairman and Vice Chairman and Commissioners. For your consideration this morning, we have a 2-acre parcel on the east side of Rocky Run Road that the property owners requested to be rezoned from rural agricultural to highway business. And this property is formally identified as parcel 1116-74. The existing uses on the parcel are currently a salvage or junkyard. And looking at the utilities, there's a 6-inch Onwassa water line and a 20-inch Onwassa sewer force main that provide access to the property. Piney Green Fire District will provide, or Piney Green Fire Department will provide fire service to the property. And looking at the average annual daily traffic counts, the closest roadway that we have those counts for is Piney Green Road, which is adjacent to this parcel. As you see here, these are 2018 counts. There's certainly been some roadway improvements there, so we have more capacity, but looking at the size of the parcel and the requested rezoning, there would be minimal impacts on traffic on both Rocky Run and Piney Green Road. And looking at the surrounding zoning, you can see a lot of pink in the map here. That's a high-density residential. The property or adjacent on the left side, the blue shaded areas is existing highway business. So we do have some adjacent properties already zoned the requested zoning district. And looking at the 2 districts and comparing those, the rural agricultural requires a minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet, primarily intended to maintain a rural development pattern of residential and to preserve agricultural type uses. In the requested zoning district, the highway business has no minimum lot size and is designed more so for commercial type uses and high density residential. When we look at the comprehensive plan, right now it is non-participating, and the primary reason for that is the parcel that's under consideration was formerly in the city of Jacksonville's ETJ. That's been relinquished back to the county, and we are in the process right now of updating our land use plan, so this will be an area in the future that will be included. But as we look at the current land use plan and recommendations that may be appropriate for the properties that are considered or under your consideration this morning, high-density residential or area-wide commercial activity center would be the most appropriate areas. And this is just a view of the current future land use map and our land use plan. As you can see, the area that's shaded in gray is area that was formerly in the city's ETJ. When we consider the reasonableness of the request, we would consider this to be a reasonable request due to the adjacent properties already being zoned highway business. And this request went before the planning board at their November 3rd meeting. At that time, there was a unanimous recommendation for denial, and the primary reason for that was because it would create a split zoning, having highway business and rural agriculture on the same parcel. Since that time, the property owner has gone forward with a subdivision and subdivided this 2-acre parcel out, so this is no longer an issue that's applicable to the rezoning request. And just to take a quick aerial view of the parcel itself,
As you can see on the parent parcel and a portion of the parcel that's requested for rezoning, there's the large salvage yard that we talked about earlier in the presentation. And so that concludes the staff presentation, and I will turn it back over to Ms. Griffin for the public hearing.
Thank you so much, Ben. I will now open the public hearing for PREZ 2022-00019 on the Littleton rezoning. We have no one signed up for the public hearing, but if anyone on behalf of the applicant would like to come forward and speak, we welcome you at this time.
Good morning. I obviously forgot to sign up. My name is George Venters, 3825 Barrett Drive, Raleigh, North Carolina. I am the manager of Glandon Forest Equity and the applicant. So we are proposing to rezone 2 acres, which are the northernmost couple of acres to the east side auto salvage on Rocky Run Road. The proposed project would clean up the property, which is currently, with all due respect to the owner, somewhat of an eyesore. The project will be paved, professionally landscaped with sod and irrigation. The rezoning request represents a natural progression of development. The county has approved a lot of residential projects up Rocky Run Road. It's resulted in tremendous residential growth in that area. Commercial projects tend to follow and gravitate to this residential growth. Currently, the area is somewhat underserved by commercial development, and the new project will offer convenience and shorter travel times to the neighbors. To date, we have worked with the owner to remove all the vehicles and other trash off the property, and we've cleaned up a couple of very minor environmental issues. The project is currently fully designed and already under review with NCDEQ and NCDOT. Plans will be submitted to Onslow County upon hopefully an approved rezoning today. If the project moves forward, it will be completed and open to the public before the end of 2023. As was stated, the planning board did vote against the rezoning previously because we had not subdivided the property. We approached this owner kind of unsolicited and basically carved out a piece of his property. Had a miscommunication with staff early on about the requirement to have it subdivided before the meeting. We had sent a rezoning exhibit, which we thought would be sufficient, but obviously it was not. But as was stated, as of today, the property has been reviewed by staff and subdivided. So if there are any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Venters. If you'd like to take a seat on the front row, when the commissioners are at the point where they can ask you questions, they may have some follow-up questions for you. We appreciate you coming. Having no one else signed up, I'll make one call to the audience for this public hearing. If you'd like to speak on this matter, please come up at this time. Seeing no one, I will now close the public hearing, and at this time it is available for commissioner consideration.
Any discussion or questions?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second? I guess-
Ben,
Yeah.
go ahead. No, go ahead. He's got a motion and no second.
No second on it, so
Okay.
Second.
Ben, I have a question. So it
we got
failed.
a second there, but
Second, now discussion.
now discussion.
This needs to go back through planning, correct?
To the planning board?
Yeah, or go
No,
back,
sir.
needs to go back to the ones that denied it, if they're gonna, he said they've done some more work out there.
Yes,
So
sir.
what does he have, because I'm gonna deny it. I'll make that motion in a minute, but
It doesn't have to go back to the planning board because they just made the recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. But the applicant has tried to address the issues that the planning board had that led to that recommendation for denial.
okay, thank you.
Ben, my question was, you said the split zoning no longer applied?
Yes, sir.
Does that mean that we are voting on an issue where it's going to mean that all 36.56 acres will now be highway business? Is that what you're saying?
No, sir. At the time that it was originally submitted, this 2 acres was part of the parent tract. Since that time, they subdivided these 2 acres out. So all you're considering now is just this 2-acre tract, and it has no impact on the larger parent tract that was originally in place.
So they'll have to come back?
No, sir. So the whole issue was that we would have one parcel with 2 different types of zoning. Now they've subdivided this 2 acres out, so it's a standalone parcel, and so it would have no impact. It
Oh,
would
okay,
have-
it's a separate parcel from the
Yes,
other?
sir.
Okay, got you.
That's correct.
But still, the planning board denied it, though.
They made the recommendation for denial based on the split zoning, but that issue has been resolved.
That was going to be my question. If their reason for denial was the split zoning, but now they've gone back and they've removed those 2 acres, subdivided out. Now that split zoning is gone, which was the reason for the planning board to deny it.
Yes, sir.
The reason for denial has now been addressed and
Yes.
taken care of.
That's correct.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll just,
I got a question.
I have a
So
question.
Just for a layman's, simple term, so initially the whole parcel was considered, correct?
Initially, it was 2 acres of the entire parcel.
Okay.
And they wanted to leave the balance, the 34 acres RA, and just as 2 acres highway business. But our zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan discourage one property having 2 different zoning districts, and that was the recommendation for denial. Since that time, they've gone back and they've subdivided this 2 acres out, so it's a standalone 2-acre parcel.
So now instead of considering one piece of land divided by 2, they've already separated them out officially.
Yes, sir.
So you have 1 parcel here, and then you have the 2 acres, right?
Yes, sir.
So
And
they're both of them are totally different.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we're just looking at the 2 acres.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
right, and Chairman, what I would add is, what happened, there was a plat that was recorded that carved out this 2 acres. They hadn't done the deeds to deed it out. So you had the plat recorded, which I think the applicant believed was sufficient. What Onslow County requires is a deed to actually separate it out. So that deed has been completed now, and so the separation has occurred.
So we have to, our job as commissioners then to focus in on that 2 acres only, not the others.
That's all that's before this board. That's correct.
Okay.
It was really just a technicality that caused the planning board to deny it or recommend denial.
Yes, sir.
I think that's what
And
the
they've
confusion was.
already done a lot of work to clean it up. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a lot better, it's going to be a better use for the property with the rezoning.
My question was, is it unusual to have an island of highway business and surrounded by rural agriculture? I mean, you got this little island of 2 acres surrounded by 34 acres of rural agricultural.
Yes, sir.
Isn't that
So-
kind of different?
A couple of things with that. You know, the parcel that's adjacent, even though it's across Rocky Run Road, that entire area between Piney Green and Rocky Run is currently zoned highway business, so this would still be considered an adjacent parcel. But the use itself as the salvage yard body shop is more of a commercial type use, even though the property is zoned RA. So you already have some transition to commercial and some existing highway business in the area, so it wouldn't be an unusual request to rezone this parcel to highway business. If there was no other highway business in the area, then it would be a spot zoning, and it would be something that we would recommend against. But since there is already highway business there, it's consistent with what we already have in place.
Was the RA zone a part of our 160D rezoning back a couple of years ago?
Not that I remember. I said this was an area that was formerly in the city of Jacksonville's ETJ, and so at the time they relinquished that to the county. We put zoning in place. So that's primarily where the zoning came from.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Can you repeat the motion? What was the motion? To adopt this? Was that the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. All right. Moving on to item 6, under general items. Ms. Griffin, I think we have Mr. DeSalms is getting ready to take over for us in a few minutes.
That is correct. I believe our county attorney, Brett DeSelms, is going to present this for us.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. On July 20th of 2020, the Board of Commissioners approved a performance agreement for Atlantic Seafood Company. As part of the agreement, Atlantic Seafood Company agreed to construct a new 62,500 square foot refrigerated facility in the Camp Davis Industrial Park on or before December 1 of 2021, after which time the incentive payments were to occur. In January of 2022, this board agreed to extend the deadlines by 1 year. COVID-related supply chain and associated economic issues have delayed construction or the completion of construction, and thus Atlantic Seafood Company is requesting an additional year to complete the project. Importantly, as part of the proposed Second Amendment, the incentive payments would also be delayed a year. So essentially just pushing everything back by another year. I do believe it's pretty close to being completed from what I've heard. So that would be the request, that this Board of Commissioners consider Atlantic Seafood Company's request to extend the time to complete the construction of the building by an additional year, as well as delay the incentive payments by an additional year, and if approved, authorize the chairman to sign the Second Amendment to the performance agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, signify by saying aye for all in favor.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. DeSalms. Ms. Griffin?
Yes, our next item is for an interlocal agreement for fiber optic cable, and we're going to welcome our ITS director back, Mr. Glenn Hasted.
Yes, hi, Chairman, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. What this agreement is, we already have an interlocal agreement with Jacksonville to provide fiber to some of our locations. What this agreement is to expand that fiber to our Parks and Rec location at Onslow Pines. So what they're going to have, what they're doing is they have a crew coming in to extend their fiber anyway. While that crew is here, we're taking advantage of having them here and building that fiber out to Onslow Pines. This was budgeted last year, and so this was approved last year through the budget process. But with the MOU, it is respectfully requested that the Board of Commissioners consider approving the interlocal agreement for the City of Jacksonville to provide fiber for Onslow County use on Onslow Pines Road, and if approved, authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of the board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Is this a dedicated cable just for Onslow County?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. For the Governor's Crime Commission Victim Services.
Yes, sir. Chairman Foster, this is going to be our new Sheriff Thomas, who is going to present this to the board.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. The Sheriff's Office has continued to grow with a number of victims of crime. In 2021, we assisted EMS with 197 overdoses, investigated 8 homicides, 698 assaults, 105 sexual assaults, and 23 rapes. The Sheriff's Office is committed to providing the best service possible for investigating crimes. However, due to the number of investigations and the limited number of detectives, the Sheriff's Office requires a victim service specialist. The North Carolina Victims' Rights Act has placed additional demands on the Sheriff's Office to continue to provide victims with services and updated information. The Sheriff's Office has been awarded a grant from the North Carolina Governor's Crime Commission to hire, train, equip a victim services specialist. This grant provides salaries, benefits, equipment, travel, child care vouchers to assist victims with crime. The program will provide crime victims with on-scene and follow-up access to victim service specialists who can address concerns and provide resources. The program is designed to bridge the gap between victimization and the individual's contact with victim services provider to ensure access within hours of trauma to address immediate safety concerns and other services. The victim service specialist will provide in-person and telephone follow-up contact with victims and their non-offending family members to provide status updates, referrals, and linkages to counseling, investigative services, and resources that may not have been initially identified. Funding has been approved until September 2024 in the amount of $166,274.48. And a match waiver was granted, eliminating the need for the usual required match. I can answer any question at this time, but it's respectfully requested that the Board of Commissioners approve the grant and authorize the county manager and finance officer to sign any documents for this grant.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question, Sheriff. Once the funding runs out in September of 2024, what's the next step?
We will be looking for additional grants between that time, and before that time comes up, we have been successful with some of our grants to get extensions on them. We have done that with our counseling grant in the detention center. We've also done that with our driving while impaired grant. So we will be pursuing that at every opportunity. Failing to do that, we will try to address it with the county. But our first priority is to try to get it through additional funding from the state.
It's needed. I mean, it's something that you got to report on it, and we're seeing more and more activity in that area. And even if you don't get a grant for it, this board would have to support you.
Well, I mean, I provided 2021 stats, and I checked the stats before I left, which we were compiling for 2022. We had 61 overdose deaths last year that we responded to, and that does not count those that are within the municipalities. So all of our stats are going up, the population is going up, and the Victims' Right Act places requirements on us to notify victims, particularly in like domestic violence situations, when an offender is bonded, court appearances, things of that nature. It requires us to do that.
So currently, detectives are having to do that work, and that takes away from their investigative
detectives, our administrative girl upstairs, she does it as well, but it's hard to keep up with all of those when you have a stack of active cases that you're trying to investigate and run down.
Well, congratulations on getting that grant. To me, it's a no-brainer. And it's necessary, and it's something that's much needed, because I know with the added responsibilities on law enforcement today, keeps growing and growing with the differences in crimes and the increased rate. So, like I said, this to me is a no-brainer.
Thanks, sir.
It's great that the grant's there to get you through this part, and the fact that this is something that needs to be addressed and is going to support you in your mission to carry out for their citizens and victim services. I think it's a great idea, regardless of whether it continues on in the future with a grant, but it's something that, like you said, you're going to be required to do, and we're going to have to find the funds to make sure that we meet the expectations.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff. Moving on to the amended project ordinance, Ms. Griffin.
Yes, Chairman Foster, the next two items, the amended project ordinance and the task order 2, are going to be by our airport director, Mr. Chris White.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chairman. In 2021, the Board of Commissioners initiated a project to design and construct a snow removal equipment storage and maintenance building. This building will store heavy equipment, parts, chemicals used during snow and ice removal, and will replace space that was demolished during the Terminal Area Redevelopment Program. The project will be delivered through a design-build method as recommended by the state. A request for proposal or a request for qualifications was issued, and the staff is working with Blvd Design Build to develop the final project proposal, design and cost proposal. RS&H engineers, architects, and planners were selected earlier this year, or late last year, to provide related professional services. The scope of services for this project includes preparing and submitting required environmental documents, assisting with technical design review, inspecting construction, and performing construction administrative services. So they become an independent third party overseeing the construction. The proposed project ordinance incorporates the annual state airport improvement program funds. This project will be funded by the state. The amended project ordinance has been reviewed and approved by County Finance. It's respectfully requested that the Board of Commissioners approve the amended project ordinance, and if approved, authorize the chairman to sign the amended project ordinance.
We have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. And I think, Mr. White, you're up for the next one as well.
Yes, the second item is the task order for RS&H. Again, this is related to the snow removal and equipment storage building. I will dispense with all the details again. But the attached proposed task order 2 for these services is in the amount of $160,000, and the proposed fee has been reviewed. This task order authorizes the work under the master agreement for the engineer. It is respectfully requested the Board of Commissioners approve RS&H task order number 2, and if approved, authorize the chairman to sign the task order on behalf of the board.
We have a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. White.
Thank you.
So we're moving to our budget amendments, and I think Mr. Andrew Prince is going to come up and take care of that for us.
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Commissioners. 3 budget amendments for you today to consider. The first is Budget Amendment 29. It's a request by the Sheriff's Office to increase the revenue and expense by $82,428.40 for the hiring, training, and equipping of the Victim Services Specialist that the Board approved earlier today. The second is to allocate additional Medicaid cost settlement revenue that was provided to us by the state. The third is an allocation of additional rental revenue totaling $15,600 related to the RI International signing a new lease at the Dix Crisis Center. It is respectfully requested that the Board of Commissioners consider the listed budget amendments, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
We have a
Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prince. Moving on to Commissioner appointments, Ms. Griffin.
Thank you so much, Chairman Foster and Commissioners. With recent changes to our Board of Commissioners, we need to reconsider a couple of board appointments. And today we bring for the board's consideration the inclusion of or appointment of Commissioner Carpenter to the Airport Advisory Commission and the Eastern Carolina Workforce Development Board, and also the appointment of Commissioner Price to the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, the Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Committee, and the Tourism Advisory Board. I respectfully request that the board consider these appointments, and these commissioners will serve until no longer appointed by the board if passed today.
Motion approved.
Motion.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Griffin, and moving on to another advisory committee.
Absolutely, Chairman Foster. Now we're looking at the Animal Services Advisory Committee, which is composed of 7 members that are appointed by the Onslow County Board of Commissioners. And this advisory committee is created to advise this board and the Onslow County Animal Services Director as they render animal service matters. Mr. Joshua Forrester, who's in seat number 6, the at-large category, submitted his resignation on September 9th, 2022. Ms. Carla Mikhail has expressed an interest in appointment and provided a citizen participation application for seat number 6, the at-large category. Her application is on file and has been certified by the clerk's office, and we respectfully request that the board consider appointment of Ms. McHale, seat number 6 at large, for the remaining 3-year term, which will expire May 16th, 2025.
Hear a motion?
Motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Our next appointment, Chairman Foster and Commissioners, is to the Onslow Civic Affairs Committee. And this is composed of 23 members who are interested in the programming that they provide. Ms. Sandra Wyrick Crane, seat 4 category, has an expired term. She has expressed an interest in continuing her service and has completed a citizen participation application for consideration, and that is on file and has been certified by the clerk. And we respectfully request at this time that the Board of Commissioners consider the appointment of Ms. Sandra Wyrick Crane, seat number 4, for a 2-year term expiring September 30th, 2024.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Griffin?
Yes, our next appointment is for the Dangerous Dog Appeals Board. This is composed of 5 members appointed by the Onslow County Board of Commissioners. Mr. Joshua Forrester, Citizen at Large category, has submitted his resignation on September 9th, 2022. Ms. Cheyenne Boros has expressed an interest in the appointment and provided a citizen participation application for the Citizen at Large category. That application is on file and has been certified by the clerk's office. We respectfully request the Board of Commissioners appoint Ms. Cheyenne Burrows to the Dangerous Dog Appeals Board for a remaining 3-year term expiring April 4th, 2024.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Our next appointment is to the Library Board of Trustees. There are 10 members of the Library Board of Trustees who are appointed by the Onslow County Board of Commissioners. Ms. Sheila Simmons Joselovich, in the retired category, submitted her resignation on July 26, 2022. Ms. Wanda Prestipino has expressed an interest in appointment and has provided a citizen participation application, which is on file and has been certified by the clerk's office. We respectfully request the Board of Commissioners appoint Ms. Wanda Prestipino to the Library Board of Trustees for a remaining 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2024.
We have a motion?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Chairman Foster and Commissioners. Our final set of appointments today are for the Local Emergency Planning Committee. The Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act, ratified in 1986, set forth regulations for the creation of a local emergency planning committee. The goals of the LEPC are to coordinate hazardous materials planning, preparedness, response, and mitigation issues at a local level. The adopted bylaws of the Onslow County LEPC requires that all appointments to the committee be made by the Onslow County Board of Commissioners and approved by the North Carolina Emergency Response Commission. I'm going to read the following individuals' names who have submitted applications which were filed and certified in the clerk's office. All of these have 2-year terms that we're bringing before you that will expire January 1st, 2025. Jerry Allen as a facility representative, Matthew Andrews in the facility representative category, Alyssa Anzac in public health, Norman Bryson in emergency management, Stephanie Cannon in public health, Walter Doyle in local environmental health, Sarah Fransheim in emergency management, Alan Hancock in transportation, Sean Hayes in the first responder fire category, Jason Jones in emergency medical services, Adam Ketchum in first responder fire category, Kurt Lang in the first responder fire category, Matthew Mano in the communications category, Megan McDonald in the community group category, Stacy Miles in emergency management, Dusty Rhodes in the other category, and Ray Silence in the communications category. We respectfully request that the Board of Commissioners consider approving these submitted names as voting members of the Onslow County Local Emergency Planning Committee. In addition, it is also requested that the Board of Commissioners waive the residency requirement for the following categorical applicants: Stephanie Cannon, Alan Hancock, and Matthew Mano.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, signify by saying aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We didn't have any items moved from the consent agenda items, so we'll move to Ms. Griffin and our manager's comments.
Thank you so much. I wanted to remind the public that our tax deadline is tomorrow, January 5th, for property taxes at 5 p.m., and that's a really important time. Although they were due for this year for your personal and your real estate property on September 1st, you're given a grace period, but if they're not paid by 5 p.m. tomorrow, you will be assessed interest for the whole month. So this is a really important deadline, and we encourage you to either bring that to the tax department, to go ahead and send that payment with a postmark that will reflect it's been sent by tomorrow, or to pay that online. And I would like to recognize our tax department, which has really worked so diligently in trying to serve customers this week and last week, and our deputy, who is standing here to my left. And our deputies have had to help our citizens as they come into the building. Yesterday, he had 531 citizens in one day. So I think that's a record, right, Carlos? Yes. Okay. So he's been busy, but we do appreciate everything they're doing. The other thing I wanted to announce to the public and to some of our nonprofit and tourism groups, our budget year preparations are in full swing now for the 23-24 year. And I wanted to let all of you know who might be part of nonprofits or those groups who ask for tourism funding from Onslow County government. Our nonprofit funding forms are now available on the finance webpage. So if you go to the Onslow County webpage, you click on finance, and then you go to nonprofit funding, you can actually go ahead and pull those forms down. Those must be turned in by March 1st, 2023. You can either email them to the email included there to the finance office. There's a fax number, 910-455-3024, or you can bring it to Onslow County Finance Department in person, but those are due March 1st. And we do have a budget workshop coming up with our commissioners on February 13th. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Commissioner comments, so we'll start. Commissioner Scott, you want to be first today?
It makes no difference. It looks like I got appointed in that position. Glenn, I really appreciate y'all coming up today and talking to us. The museum, I'm going to be coming out. Please make sure that's on our calendar, because I'd like to go out and see the things that's coming in May. The only other thing, I'm going to do this as a joke. Glenn, you guys are great. You just can't build no skateboards. Now, with that being said, now God bless you. Let's keep this county growing. I appreciate everything that you do, and I hope y'all have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Commissioner Price?
I'd like to thank the directors that presented this morning, Glenn and Lisa. It was obvious that you guys got a lot of passion. You could see it in your eyes and your facial expression. You feel strongly about your department. You love it, and it shows. And so I appreciate that. Anybody that's passionate about what they do, that's good stuff. Also, I'd like to thank everyone for their support as I transition back onto the board. I'm blessed to be here, and I'm glad to be serving. And other than that, have a great day and a great 2023.
Fantastic. Commissioner Carpenter?
Thank you. Being the newbie here, I think I'm putting pretty much everybody in this room through a ringer. So I appreciate your patience as I flood you with questions and try to manage this learning curve I'm on. I'm somebody who loves learning, and so part of it is so that I understand my job better. Part of it is personal interest. So I appreciate yesterday when I came in and had a boatload of questions for all the directors who had a kind of impromptu meeting in Julie's office yesterday. I really do appreciate all the extra detail and attention that you gave me. And you'll be asked for more, so thank you. I enjoyed a tour over at the sheriff's office last week and got to see a lot of the challenges that they work through, and I really do appreciate every single one of the staff that you have, Sheriff Thomas, that deals with the challenges so gracefully there, and hopefully in the coming months we'll be able to figure out some solutions to those things we talked about. Looking forward to a ride along with EMS and also with the Sheriff's Office, and going to Community Health Services on Friday for a tour, if any of you are interested in coming for a refresher, commissioners. So I really appreciate all the support as I slowly settle into this new position, but thank you so much for your grace and have a great week.
Thank you. Commissioner Bennett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too paid my property taxes last week. I want to thank everybody at the tax office. It was painful, but I know that we did the very best we could to make sure that our money is spent in the very best ways that it can be to secure the future for Onslow County. And I appreciate all those employees. I waited in line with everybody else, and I appreciate the work that they did, and the deputy to get them all in. It's not the happiest time of year for most people, so I appreciate your patience. I want to congratulate, welcome Mark again, and congratulate the chairman on his first full meeting as chairman. Thank Glenn and Lisa for your presentations. I appreciate the opportunity that we're going to have now to hear from our county departments and hear what's going on in your departments, and looking forward to each and every one of them. And I hope the public will learn more about what we do in Onslow County from your presentations. I also want to thank those who volunteer for our many advisory boards. Most of those are probably thankless jobs that don't get paid, so we appreciate what they do. And wish everybody a Happy New Year. I hope we have a great 2023. Thank you.
Commissioner Buchanan.
Hey, Glenn and Lisa, thank you as always. I mean, you do such a wonderful job for us. I'm not going to elaborate too much on Duke because I think one of my commissioners to my left is going to really hammer that home. Christmas Eve, I lost power for 8 hours. Thank goodness I have a Generex generator that runs my whole house, but my neighbors had no power. And they were all coming to my house for coffee because I had a generator that ran the whole house. The thing that bothered me the most about this, and I know that Robin's going to cover a lot of it, but one of the things was that they give us a warning Saturday night for Sunday and Monday, but they didn't warn us Friday night for Saturday. So people that were concerned about this, my concern was, and Robin's going to get into in detail, but people live in these trailers. They will lose temperature in that trailer very quickly. Our houses probably will hold 55, 45, 50 degrees, and we can probably live with that if you just have a working generator outside. But Duke Energy, for some reason, doesn't want to talk to us. And we, the public, need to let them know because it come close to us opening up the shelter. The commissioners were talking back and forth, and we thought we might have to do that. But God bless it, it came back on at 3:30. But that's not satisfied for me. But now on a kind of a communal type of thing, we played golf in a golf tournament. I was going to bring some golf balls today, 3 of them. Three golf balls.
Commissioner Buchanan's time has run out.
For the chairman. We played in the tournament that the county has every year. It's a government tournament. It's my team is always trying to beat his team. Well, we did, but we were on hole 10. My team was behind this team, which was chairman's. He hit 3 golf balls in the water.
Straight into the water.
So I had to pick on, I had to have some humor tonight, this morning to help out, but that was kind of comical because there was 4 of us, and General Dickerson was with us, Scott Chadwick, and our county attorney, and we were watching our chairman hit some nice golf balls in the water. That's all I have today,
nice.
sir. Everybody have a nice day.
Vice Chairman.
That doesn't surprise me, being a UNC grad.
Well,
so.
we have to put Sheriff Thomas to start the timer on Vice Chairman, please.
First of all, congratulations, Mark. Welcome back. Good to have you back. See a familiar face. Know how you think. You still haven't brought back the plaque that we gave you when you left the board, so I'm still waiting for that.
There was never a vote by the board.
Oh, okay.
Calling for
All
that.
right. Well, I got a few things to say, and I'm kind of true to my word. And first of all, I'm going to address this Duke issue because it really ticked me off on the Christmas Eve morning of all times to do this rollback outage or whatever you want to call it. They turn off the power at 5:30 in the morning, supposedly only going to be off for about an hour, okay? When I woke up, we lost power, but I wasn't really concerned about that because I have a gas fireplace downstairs and that we could heat up. But when I woke up, my initial thought was a transformer went out, there's an accident, something happened weather-wise. That's not the case. I find out later that it was planned. What irritated me the most was I was not notified by any text messages from a personal citizen standpoint or any emails that they subsequently started sending later in the day to notify us of potential outages further on in the evening. So I had to go across the street. My neighbor, he was out of power too. The whole area where I live in the Commons was out. So I got in my car and I drove around the city to see who was out, where it was, and all these houses and all that were out. And so finally I find out that it was planned. What really got me upset was there was no notification to our county manager, none to the government. So I'm thinking to myself as a citizen and as a commissioner, because I'm concerned about the citizens, as Commissioner Buchanan pointed out, that were left in trailers, people on machines for medical purposes, people that needed their medication refrigerated, things of this sort, people that were less fortunate than us that are surviving these temperatures that dip below 40 or 50 degrees in a house, and you summed it up best in a trailer. It gets mighty cold in a trailer very quickly because there's not much insulation. So I'm concerned about our citizens and what in the world is going on because we were not given any heads-up notification. Now, when I find out that it was planned, they had a week's time before that to know of the impending storm or impending cold front that was moving through here. It's not like we don't have, weather people telling us what to expect. It's not like a hurricane just drops on us and, oh, there's a hurricane outside. We have fair warning. We weren't given that fair warning. But what really upset me was the lack of communication from Duke Energy, treating our citizens like they didn't matter. Requests by our county manager to have a meeting with them and not hearing anything from them until yesterday morning. Yesterday morning. This is New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve. And then the answer really got me upset when the answer said, go to YouTube and look at the North Carolina Utilities Commissions as they question Duke Energy for your answers. To me, coming from a professional law enforcement background and the military, that is unacceptable. It's pathetic. Okay, and I'm fired up about it because we could have lost citizens during this cold front. We really could have. Then what are they going to say? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't care if it was a grid outage or a computer problem. Then I get even more irritated when I start reading articles that, well, these rollouts were not really planned, that we had some equipment failures. You see where I'm going with this? I've got what's the truth? What are you telling me, Duke? I'm tired of hearing your apologies. Our citizens deserve an explanation. Our government deserves an explanation. All of a sudden, the power goes out and you're blaming it on this, you're blaming it on that. Well, I'll tell you what I blame it on. For number one, it's probably a combination of things. Number one, equipment failure, grid failure, computer failure, a communication failure. And quite honestly, piss poor planning on the part of Duke. If this was a planned outage and you cite the overusage of energy, well, I recall this summer we had a lot of heat coming through this county. It was extremely hot this past year. And as you know, if it gets really hot, the air conditioners kick in and uses and consumes a lot of energy. Why didn't they have these rollouts back then? I don't recall one time where we had a power outage during the summer unless it was caused by a weather incident or whatnot. So these are the questions that I'm asking. And the reason why I'm vocal about it is because I've had a lot of constituents call me, blowing up my phone, texting me, and I'm in agreement with every single one of them. We're in partnership with Duke. As a county entity, we're in partnership with them, we rely on them, but they have to understand that they rely on us, the customer. They rely on us for their income. And when I'm scratching my head, I understand they had a $14 or $18 billion profit last year. Million or billion? I can't remember.
I don't have an answer for that. Is there something else I can help with?
No. That was my personal secretary, sorry. Wow.
All right, Robin.
I think Duke's listening in to me right now.
Okay,
But
Siri's upset.
I guess so. But anyway, they had a large profit margin. And so if they didn't anticipate shortcomings, and then I hear yesterday that they did not anticipate the power surge that was taking place. Well, you're an executive, you're in the electric business, you're in the grid functioning and all this stuff, you should be planning for this. planning for a contingency. And what concerned me too is, like I said, getting back to the main factor, is our citizens come first. I had talked to the chairman, I had talked to the county manager about the possibility of initiating emergency shelters for these people on Christmas Eve. Do you know how much money that would have cost and the manpower behind that just to ensure our citizens are safe? But we were going to take that measure because we had to. There are people out there that were suffering from this, and I thank the good Lord in heaven that nobody suffered any serious injuries or death because of the power outage. But then when you come on and tell the citizens that you only have an hour to wait, their plan, so it'll be 30 minutes to an hour. Here it is, 5:30, the electricity's off, and finally at 1600 or 4 o'clock, electricity comes in. Now, I'm not a math major, but 30 minutes to an hour is a far cry from 11 hours. And I know some of the people in Swansboro were up for 11 hours. So forgetting about what's politically correct to say, I'm not going to do that. I expect Duke to come here with answers to our county manager, our county government, to at least sit at the table and discuss what went wrong and how they can plan better. In fact, I feel we're entitled to that explanation other than just an apology. And more importantly, I think our citizens are entitled to that. They need to hear that. I mean, how many of y'all were really upset about this? Some of you weren't affected, but a lot of you were. You had your families here. I had my mother-in-law here. You know, she was happy to be down here because it's cold. It's warmer here on the coast than it is in Rockingham County, North Carolina. Not this Christmas. So yeah, it upsets me, and I'm not going to let this die. In fact, I was interviewed by WNC-TV last night when they saw my Facebook post, and I told them what I thought. Because I'm representing, all of us up here are representing the county. We're your voices, okay? We're your voices to make our issues known to whatever enterprise is out there that I feel is doing us wrong and doing us a big disservice. Now, some may say, well, you're just beating a dead horse. No, I'm going to keep beating a dead horse until I get an explanation. That's just the way I am. It's the old cop in me. I'm not going to let up because we demand answers as citizens of Onslow County. Our government, in fact, my county manager deserves an apology on the way they treated her. It is not proper protocol. And when you tell me, you know, no one's in the office because we're on vacation someplace in a warm room, that's not going to cut it either. You know, when we send official correspondence requesting that somebody get back with us and we don't hear back from them, and this was sent on New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve, and they get back to us yesterday, to me there's no satisfactory explanation for that. It's just rude. And quite honestly, it's arrogant. So just stay tuned, folks. We have asked for meetings with the Duke executives to find out what went wrong. I assure you we'll be very professional with them. But at the same time, I expect one thing out of Duke Energy is to be truthful on what happened. Don't give me this excuse and turn around and say it was due to this and then it was due to that, or we didn't. Just admit it, own it. You screwed up. Big time on all levels. And the lack of professionalism displayed by Duke Energy during this whole incident has really disturbed me and has really angered me. And again, I'm just glad that our citizens came out of it okay, and we didn't have any serious injuries or death or anything of that nature. But anyway, I'll leave that alone for now, and there's more to follow. Trust me, there's more to follow as we talk with them. The last thing I want to say is it's a new year for the county commissioners. We have a new board. 2022 is behind us, and hopefully all the problems of 2022 are gone as well, okay? All the infighting amongst certain people and certain groups is gone as well, that we could move forward as a board, unified, to accomplish what we need to accomplish for the citizens of Onslow County. And again, I'm excited that we have Mark back. I'm excited that Lisa got elected to the Board of Commissioners. She brings a set of fresh eyes, fresh thoughts, and that's what we need. And I'm hoping for a very successful year for Onslow County. We're in the budget process, so it's going to be taking a strain on most of the commissioners, and I'm sure we'll have some professional debates and disagreements. But for the most part, we're going to do the best we can for Onslow County. And one last parting shot. NC State lost, and so did UNC. You guys are pathetic. You let the ACC down. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. I just like the ability of Sheriff Thomas and his clandestine efforts to get Siri on board to limit Vice Chairman's comments.
Well played, Chris.
Well, good stuff there. We appreciate those comments from both you and from all the commissioners, but in particular those that are addressing issues with Duke Energy. Before I mention that and thank everybody for quite a few things, I will say that those were 3 nice, brand-new Titleist Velocity golf balls that rapidly went into the pond at Bear Trail. And it was not as humorous to me as it was to the team behind me, but I'm glad I was able to provide some comic relief for them because it was a bad moment. Good news is the club did not follow the balls into the water. But it was a good time. Onslow County Parks and Rec did a great job of getting that tournament put together, and we're looking forward to the next one coming up in the spring and maybe a drier, not as many ponds on the course. Carolina's 4 straight losses. We're not surprised, so thanks there, Commissioner Knapp. Anytime. But particularly your comments in reference to Duke Energy, I'm not going to turn around and repeat the things that he said, but it did create a lot of conversation, a lot of work with this board and our county manager with what was going on. And unfortunately, a lot of it was out of our hands and in the hands of those in control of the grid. But our job is the citizens of Onslow County. And anything you hear said in reference to that event is related to our concern for the people of this county. And at the end of the day, the one word that I think should resonate greater than any other is communication. And that lack of communication put us in a position that we didn't know whether we would need to open a shelter to take care of our people or not. If we'd been given a heads up, we could have done our jobs. We're not notified. Then if you do not receive communication with events that are going to take place, then your team and your people are not able to prepare for those events. That's the reason when we face major thunderstorms and ice storms and hurricanes, we have our EMS, our director, our county manager, their team goes to work and prepares for that event. Because preparation is what prevents negative outcomes. We were not allowed or afforded preparation and the time to take care of our people. So the fact is, we want you to come talk to us, share with us what went wrong, and we can share with you what our concerns are if we're ever in this position again, that we will know and have those answers to do what we need to do to take care of people. That's enough on that one for us. Thank you, Glenn and Lisa, for coming out and presenting and sharing what your departments do and what you do. What you do is incredible. The history of Onslow County is great to hear. It's important for our kids in our schools to get out and hear what Onslow County is all about, because they're not only learning the history of Onslow County, but when you're learning that history, you're learning the history of North Carolina, which in turn, you learn the history of the United States, because what's happening here oftentimes is similar to what is happening in other parts of this nation, and at times in the world around us with the events that are taking place and how they match up and they work in unison with the events that take place. And Glenn, your team and what y'all do with GIS and tech and the cyber, it's just tremendous. And I hope the citizens of Onslow County were able to hear what job and services that you provide to them and where their tax dollars are going and the great things that are coming out of your departments. But the one thing I'll say that resonated with me from you two, and it is a testament to your leadership in your departments, is you referenced your team. That's right. And what your team does to make things happen. And that in itself is a great sign of leadership in what you do, is because you didn't come to this microphone and tell us what you were doing. you come to this microphone and you shared with us what your team and your department as a whole does for Onslow County. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for recognizing the job that your team does, and thank you for being a part of what makes Onslow County great and why people should appreciate what they have here. And that kind of leads me into the next step is having coached. I've traveled around the state of North Carolina, been in a lot of towns, a lot of cities, and a lot of schools. Onslow County is a beautiful county with a lot of nice things. The schools are not growed. I'm going to use my old country twang for Commissioner Knapp right here. Our schools are not growed up with bushes. When you drive by them, the aesthetic value tells you what's going on inside the building. The aesthetic value of what happens when you cross into Onslow County is tremendous. If you've traveled the state, take a picture of what you're looking at and then come back home and realize what you have in Onslow County. So I think we're doing a great job with maintaining the services here, and our two team members and leaders, Lisa and Glenn, did a great job of describing that, and we appreciate that, sharing that. And you tell a story. You tell a story of Onslow County and what you do. And we're looking forward to next month where we hear 2 more come in, or 3 more, whatever it is going to be on the agenda at that time. And I want to reiterate the nonprofit that our manager, Ms. Griffin, shared, the nonprofit and tourism groups that are going to be looking for funding. That's due March 1st. Get online, as she shared, get that information to us. We understand the role that these nonprofits and groups perform and the rate that we are able to supply funds. The return on investment is incredible, what these organizations do here in Onslow County, and we appreciate that. With all that being said, thank you for coming this morning. Thank you for your work, and a motion to adjourn.
So move.
So move.
Second.
We are adjourned.